I grew up watching Regular Show. It was one of my favorite shows to watch growing up from a preteen to a teenager. I loved all the fun catchphrases and the ridiculous situations that the park guys would get into. From every whoa to stop talking to or you're fired. Regular Show hit me in a way that most other cartoons at the time just didn't. It had all the cartoonish surrealism that kept my attention while maintaining relatively mature in its subject matter that aided in a time when I myself was maturing. Unfortunately, I stopped watching the show around the beginning of season 7 because I had gotten to the age where I was too old to watch cartoons. But recently I was able to revisit this show and see if it holds up. Does it? Well, grab some cheesers, twirl your shirt over your head, and let's see if this jolly good show is a jolly good show indeed. Regular Show started airing on Cartoon Network in 2009 and ended in 2017. It was created by J.G. Quintel and despite being a small project, gathered quite a bit of talent as the show went on. With the voices of Stephen Bloom, Jeff Bennett, Linda Cardellini, D. Bradley Baker, and Troy Baker, and bigger stars like Joel McHale, Robert Englund, Carl Weathers, Tyler the Creator, Childish Gambino, and even nabbing Mark Hamill in a lead role. Regular Show established some credibility for mainstream audiences. I'll be going through each season talking about how I feel the show as a whole progresses, but first I want to talk about each main character and how they were handled in the show. Let's start with Mordecai.
Hanging with Margaret just to feel so good, like I knew it would. Laughing together and having a blast, and I hope it lasts forever.
It's time to talk about our favorite animated simp, Mordecai. More like Simpticai. But in all seriousness, no, this dude is the biggest animated simp. Dude kills his best friend for just a little bit of time with a woman. Straight up murders a fool just so he can go to the movies with a girl. That is simp material. In fact, much of Mordecai's time for the duration of Regular Show revolves around his relationships with two women. The status quo established in the first season is that Mordecai and Rigby are best friends, Mordecai usually being the more responsible of the two, who's hopelessly in love with the barista at a local coffee shop, a robin named Margaret. Throughout the first 3 seasons, Mordecai simps hard after Margaret before finally pursuing a relationship with her in season 4. The episode Meteor Moves solidifies the notion that Margaret and Mordecai are supposed to be together, but unfortunately Mordecai gets rejected by her in the finale of season 4, leaving him single once again in season 5. He meets up with CJ, a talking cloud who was previously in the episode Yes Dude Yes, and they begin dating about halfway through season 5 until the end of season 6, where he gets dumped at Muscle Man's wedding. He remains single until the finale of the show, getting married to some bat lady and having kids. Honestly though, that's about it for his character. The frustrating thing about Mordecai is that he doesn't really have much growth outside of his love life. The only real moment of growth he has is in Rigby's graduation special, where he cathartically reflects on his lack of growth and how it causes him to resent Rigby for his successes, representing almost a switch in character dynamics where Rigby has become the more responsible friend. Outside of that episode, Mordecai doesn't really experience much personal growth. He just kind of accepts his failures and is relegated to being a supportive slack-off character for the last season.
You should have picked me. Do the right thing. You better pick me before we get to the stupid tournament.
Dude, what are you doing in there? Come on, we gotta get on the road.
Just a minute!
I'm not gonna lie. Rigby's probably my favorite character on Regular Show. He starts out as an irresponsible slacker who causes trouble for everybody else. He comes off as insecure, careless, and selfish. We see multiple times the lengths Rigby is willing to go in order to keep his only friend to himself, whether it's sabotaging Mordecai's date with Margaret, or stealing his acceptance letter in order to convince Mordecai that he got rejected by a college in order for Mordecai to stay with Rigby so Rigby doesn't have to be alone. However, Rigby takes a turn and he learns to take more responsibility for his actions. He learns to be a more considerate and compassionate person. This is mainly through his relationship with Eileen. Eileen makes Rigby want to be a better person, as we see in him simply wanting to surprise her by hanging up a TV in Eileen flat screen, and in him determining to graduate high school during the course of Season 7. On top of that, he typically is the butt of many jokes, and the subject to a lot of slapstick comedy within the show, and it's usually pretty funny due to the vocal delivery of William Salyers. I also really like the irony that Rigby, the irresponsible goofball, ends up in a stable relationship and gains maturity throughout the course of this series, while Mordecai, the more responsible and sensible of the two, gets stuck in a self-destructive cycle of relationships and ends up almost a deadbeat. In the end, we get to see that Rigby managed to maintain a healthy relationship with Eileen and ended up getting married with kids and having a long and happy life with her. Rigby was able to grow into a better person while being at the park, and we get to see his evolution through his relationship with those around him. Unlike Mordecai, we get to see a fulfilling, complete arc.
Oh, Starla, but I knew you'd be my lady, and I'd be your muscle man.
Muscle Man and High Five seem to serve almost as foils to Mordecai and Rigby. They love slacking off and doing their own thing as much as Mordecai and Rigby do, but they actually seem to get work done and manage to stay on Benson's good side for the most part. The reason I put the two of them in the same category is because they kind of are the same character. I mean, don't get me wrong, Muscle Man definitely has his own struggles and his own personal growth, but Fives is just kind of there. In the 247 episodes of regular show, Fives only gets one episode where he gets the spotlight. I'm not going to count the Origins episode where he becomes friends with Muscle Man, since that really only focuses on Muscle Man. The only thing we get from Fives individually is that he met a girl a long time ago, and now that she's back in town, they're dating. That's about it. Fives gets the short end of the stick for the show, which sucks because he could have actually been a good character with a complete arc. But enough of him. Let's move on to Muscle Man, whose main arc mainly comprises of his relationship with Starla. He meets her in the episode Muscle Woman, and they begin dating throughout the series until they get married at the end of Season 6. Based on some of the videos I've seen and the ratings on IMDb, people seem to really hate Muscle Man-centric episodes. I can see where people are coming from, but I do have a soft spot for episodes like Trucker Hall of Fame and Kill It Radio, and I like what some episodes like My Mom and Fancy Restaurant and The End of Muscle Man represent for his character. In these episodes, we get to see some positive qualities in Muscle Man. His love for his dad, the lengths he'll go to make Starla happy, his love for his friends that he hides under his tough exterior. However, it is that tough, rough, crude exterior that makes it so hard for us to love him sometimes. He's crude, he's loudmouthed, he's annoying, he loves playing pranks and making jokes about his mother. He's a character specifically designed to be a sidekick, a supporting character. So anytime he's in the spotlight, it makes that episode fit his nature, which is crude, annoying, loudmouthed. And it makes those episodes incredibly annoying to watch. And the more and more they put him in the spotlight, the more and more annoyed I got with his character, and the more tired I got of seeing Muscle Man-centric episodes, which fortunately kind of died down after Season 3. In the end, though, I liked the bits of character development we got from Muscle Man, and I liked that he got a happy ending with Starla. The only issue is that his rough and in-your-face character makes it hard to watch him take the spotlight as many times as he did, and he took it way too much. It's time to talk about our favorite angry gumball machine. Benson, as the park manager, serves as the kind of Squidward to Mordecai and Rigby, SpongeBob, and Patrick throughout the series. The distinct difference between Benson and Squidward, however, is that we get to see Benson's relationship with Mordecai and Rigby grow as we go throughout this series, and I really enjoy a lot of Benson's episodes. We get to learn about his childhood, his past as a drummer and as a stick hockey champion, his insecurities, his mindset about his job, and his relationships with our main characters. Benson gets to grow into a multifaceted character rather than just an unlikable boss. He feels almost human, and we can see where he's coming from when he gets frustrated with Mordecai or Rigby, or he's distrusting of them. However, I will say he tends to be the most inconsistent character on the show. The infamous episodes Best Burger in the World and Replace portray Benson as someone who is uncharacteristically mean and hateful towards Mordecai and Rigby, rather than his normal character of just being angry and skeptical of them. We see a couple of other times where Benson borders on this hateful persona where it shouldn't be there after bonding with Mordecai and Rigby, and if it weren't for those inconsistencies, he would have easily became my favorite character in regular show.
Go away, Skips, it's time for you to go away.
It's time for you to go to your room.
Yeah, Skips, it's time for you to go to the moon.
Where'd he go?
Skips is probably the most awesome character on the show. Just listen to this character description and tell me it's not dope. Skips is an immortal yeti who is the park's handyman. He skips every day in memory of the only woman he ever loved and fights an evil tyrant baby who killed her every 127 years with the fists of justice. That is a freaking great character right there, isn't it? Most Skips-centric episodes don't really develop his character too much. Rather, it gives us an insight into the world he inhabits and the world he interacts with. Things like the Guardians of Eternal Youth and Gary, this synthesizer, David Bowie-esque deity. That's not to say we don't see him grow as a character, though. He has to learn to accept others' help, overcome his own pride, and learn that he can't do everything even though he wants to be self-reliant. His big character flaw is that he is self-reliant. He takes pride in being able to take care of himself and his friends to a fault. He wants to be able to help others without accepting help, creating a dangerous amount of pride within him. We can see different versions of himself as walks in school and walks as a storm chaser, where those traits of pride and arrogance are much more prominent within him. Over the years, he managed to repress those traits, but clearly they haven't disappeared in episodes like Skip's Stress and Over the Top. Skips is such an interesting character to learn more about, as much of the show is dedicated to the mythology surrounding him. But they subtly provide character flaws that our favorite Yeti handyman has to overcome over the course of the show, giving a bit more meat on this muscular ape's character.
And I gotta cut loose, foot loose, kick off the Sunday shoes. Please, Louise, pull me off of my knees.
Pops is essentially the heart of the show. He serves as the unifying force between characters. Mordecai and Benson might be at odds at the moment, but they will put aside their differences to help Pops out of a bad situation. He is the embodiment of innocence and good, which comes into play later on in Season 8. However, before that, he doesn't get much in terms of development. Most of the time, he serves as a catalyst for the episode's events, such as Brain Eraser or Dizzy, or he serves as a vessel to help other characters grow, like in Really Real Wrestling and Wrap It Up. The only significant development he gets is learning to become one with nature in the episode Catching the Wave. It's also worth noting that Pops had an antagonist for a couple of episodes prior to Season 8. In the aforementioned episode Really Real Wrestling from Season 2, Pops runs over the wrestler Hugehead before taking his place in the ring, unintentionally mind you. Then Hugehead swears revenge, but it takes him about 4 years to come back. But even then, he's relegated to a throwaway joke, getting his head stuck in a black hole and becoming an attraction for the park. We then get to see his skeletal head later in Season 8. So I guess that kind of goes nowhere, and I don't understand why I included it. Speaking of Season 8, once we get into it, Pops almost takes over as the main character. It's revealed that he is one of the most powerful beings in the universe. When he battles his brother, who the gang creatively terms Anti-Pops, he destroys the universe he currently inhabits and creates a new one. He was adopted by Mr. Maylard, who prepared for a day when Pops had to battle his brother, leading to the development of the Dome experiment from Season 7. Pops struggles with the concept of there being a person that is truly irredeemable, and he tries again and again to defeat him with love. However, it doesn't work, and he is forced to battle to the death with his brother. Ultimately, Pops decides to sacrifice himself, throwing him and Anti-Pops into the sun, with Anti-Pops expressing this regret that he dwelled in negativity all of his life, and Pops responding saying they can face it together. Let me tell you something. Boys cried when Mufasa died. Boys cried at the end of the Green Mile. Boys cried within the first 10 minutes of Up, but real men cried at this moment when Pop sacrificed his life. I was left a blubbering mess, and I feel embarrassed to admit that right now. Then I cried even more when it was revealed we essentially just watched the entire show, or at least the finale of the show, with Pops as he sits in heaven. That is some great stuff right there. Jolly good show, Pops. Jolly good show indeed. Let's get into the season-by-season breakdown. The world was gifted with regular show when the first episode, The Power, aired on September 6, 2010. Don't mind the pilot, we'll get there later. We were introduced to Mordecai, Rigby, and the rest of the park staff we would spend 8 seasons with. The Power was the perfect intro into this cartoon. We got a good feel for the dynamics of the characters, and it perfectly established their characterizations. From episode 1, this show became instantly iconic. The Power itself is one of the most identifiable items from the show's world, and the watch synchronization scene/rap is so memorable, I swear people still sing it today. The episode also establishes the regular show formula of a fairly relatable situation that accelerates into a supernatural event. Season 1 would also introduce characters like Margaret, Gary, the Death Kwon Do guy, and Don, Rigby's older brother. They are already starting to build this world around the park, creating a more immersive atmosphere. This season introduces iconic bangers like Mordecai and the Rigbys and Death Punchies, and most of the episodes in this 12-episode season are very memorable and have their place within regular show's identity. The only episode here that doesn't quite work for me is The Unicorns Have Got to Go. I get that the unicorns are supposed to be obnoxious, but there's a line for me where a character can go from being funny but annoying to the characters to just being flat out annoying, and the unicorns to me were just way too flat out annoying for my taste. However, season 1 provided a great introduction into regular show and would carve the identity regular show would later be known for within Cartoon Network's lineup, and it would go on to influence the tone and the style of the show going forward, as we'll see in season 2.
It's summertime, and you know what that means. Gonna head out to the beach, gonna do some beachy things. It's summertime, feels just right. Gonna gather all my friends and we'll party through the night. Summertime, love it. It's loving in the summertime. Summertime, love it. Oh, baby, why can't you be mine?
Season 2 of Regular Show took what worked about Season 1 and dialed that crap up to 11. It delivers such classics as Hello, Governor, It's Time, High Score, Rage Against the Machine, Party Pete, Jinx, Gravesite, Over the Top, A Bunch of Baby Ducks, and the legendary This Is My Jam. We're introduced to Garrett Bobby Ferguson, Eileen, Low-Five Ghost, Party Pete, Death, and Starla this season. We get to see the start of Benson's bonding with Mordecai and Rigby, and hints at Rigby's relationship with Eileen. We also get the re-release of the pilot in the episode First Day, and while being a solid episode, I'm glad it wasn't our introduction to the show as a whole. It doesn't quite go the extra mile to introduce a feasible antagonist, and we just get basically a black hole resulting from a rock, paper, scissors match. It doesn't really have a good establishment of how all the characters relate to each other and really the identities in which the characters put themselves into. Rather, we just kind of have two slackers doing rock, paper, scissors with some of the characters watching. Looking at the rest of even just the first season, this episode feels different and kind of underwhelming going back to it. It doesn't quite capture what Regular Show is. It feels more simple than what we come to see in the show. We also start to see the overexposure of Muscle Man this season, but the 3 episodes that do focus on him aren't that bad. We get to see brief moments of vulnerability from him with the episode My Mom. We get to see the links in which he will go for a prank and See You There, which also starts a trend of him just pulling needless pranks on people. And we get to see the start of his relationship with Starla in Muscle Woman. Those episodes aren't too bad, however, they start a trend that becomes annoying as the show goes on. Overall, though, Season 2 really improves upon what worked about Season 1 while planting seeds for character development going forward.
Yeah, well, that's called beginner's luck. Luck.
Now, Season 3 is where we get some discrepancies. We get 7 episodes that are Muscle Man-centric, with only one that I really liked. While I appreciated some of the character work the writers did with him in Trucker Hall of Fame and Fancy Restaurant, these episodes really highlight why he doesn't work as a lead role. And these 7 episodes are within the last 20 episodes of the season, condensing these muscle moments into a relatively short watch. So what about the rest of the season? Well, we have Benson at his most dislikable and spiteful, contradicting with his development up to this point, and even in this season. The best burger in the world and replaced is a 1-2 punch of mean-spirited Benson, and they are probably the worst episodes of the show along with Gut Model and Out of Commission. From this season as well, we see the beginning of Mordecai's love woes in Yes Dude Yes, hinting at the awkward misunderstandings that are yet to come, and I begin to notice what I can only call the Regular Show school of dealing with your problems, where most characters in Regular Show react to an emotional moment by running away, which I started to notice in episodes like Death Bear and Bad Kiss. That's not to say that Season 3 has nothing good to offer. It certainly does. It has some solid new recurring characters, such as Death's son Thomas, not to be confused with the intern, CJ, who I personally think is better for Mordecai than Margaret was. We got the Basketball King, voiced by the impeccable Carl Weathers, the Excellent Knight, who is a fun little parody on the knight from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Tecmo, who provides some mythology building for Skips, and the Capricola Gang, who is just basically Chuck E. Cheese if they were a part of the Italian mob. That's a great idea. I personally really like it, and I enjoy most of those characters. Sure, Thomas could be somewhat annoying, and CJ, that's a whole thing I'll get to later. But as a whole, these are some solid characters Season 3 introduced. We even get some good episodes of character development for Benson, despite Best Burger in the World and Replaced, in the episodes Busted Cart and Stick Hockey. We get the first of what will become a yearly tradition of Terror Tales in the Park, giving us some creative short stories, and we still get some of the most iconic moments in regular show history. You have the scene where Mordecai and Rigby scare that one lady in Terror Tales in the Park that kind of became a meme briefly. Mordecai and Rigby and Pops spitting mad poetry at Tyler the Creator and Childish Gambino in Wrap It Up. The entire concept of excellent, to be honest. The fantastic episodes Fuzzy Dice and Skips vs. Technology, and perhaps one of the best moments of regular show, the hallucination sequence in Weekend at Benson's, where we get to see a full-on trip sequence to the song Mississippi Queen. Skips also gets to shine a little bit this season with some of his history being revealed in Skip Strikes and Skips vs. Technology. While being a shaky season overall, Season 3 still manages to deliver some good character development and iconic regular show moments, making it very hard to discount the season as an entirety, and still making a solid chapter in the regular show story.
We're schooling you pretty bad.
Yeah, your moves don't got no 80s effects or hand claps or nothing. Prepare yourselves for the finishing moves.
Season 4 marks the halfway point of regular show, and like I believe the halfway point should do, it fulfills smaller plot points while teasing some bigger plot points to come, creating a big shift in the status quo of the show as a whole. Mordecai finally makes a move on Margaret and Meteor moves. Party Pete returns for his final appearance in Party Repeat, and the Capricola gang returns for a final outing in Stake Me Amadeus. We see future events teased with the last Laserdisc player, and the Baby Ducks return in a bunch of full-grown geese, setting an every other season trend of their appearance. Carter and Briggs and RGB2 leap out of the TV and into regular show in Carter Briggs and That's My Television respectively. Finally, Season 4 introduces a new intern to the cast, Thomas, and Margaret rejects Mordecai at the end of the season. Season 4 has a total of 3 specials: Exit 3B, Terror Tales in the Part 2, and Christmas Special. Exit 3B introduces Thomas as an intern while bringing the most epic story of regular show thus far. I loved how the special unites the most popular villains from the first 3 seasons of regular show and the most prominent allies of the park. It felt like the regular show equivalent to the Avengers. Terror Tales in the Part 2, while not as great as the first, provides some fun short stories once again, and Christmas Special provides a great take on Santa Claus and a unique Christmas story that only regular show can deliver. Other noticeable episodes are Skip's Stress, which develops Skip's characters a little bit more, and 150-piece Kit, giving us more of Benson's many talents. However, the rest of Season 4 feels mundane. Most episodes feel like regular show on cruise control, delivering decent to good episodes that come off as kind of forgettable. We get more Bad Muscle Man-centric episodes that don't really develop the character with stuff like Bald Spot, Longest Weekend, Trailer Trashed, and The Last Meal. On top of that, we get even more episodes that feel out of place for regular show. Caveman just doesn't go all the way for the concept to work. Quips focuses on Skips' cousin, who is only in one other episode anyways, and he's annoying. He's like Muscle Man, but his one joke isn't my mom, it's Zingo, which gets very ear-grating after a while. Cool Cubed is basically just a rip-off of Season 1's Caffeinated Coffee Tickets, but done a lot worse. Pie Contest is honestly just kind of bland, and Starter Pack felt way too mean-spirited until the twist that has happened multiple times now, mind you. That Muscle Man was just pranking Mordecai and Rigby. The fact that this has happened at the very least once per season is starting to wear thin now. Outside of the specials and the story-building episodes, Season 4 feels like it has very little to offer to make up for the abundance of the weaker episodes.
Chillax. Keeping it cool. Keeping it cool.
Season 5 was a mostly solid season. We get to see the fallout of Margaret dumping Mordecai, the start of Mordecai and CJ's relationship, Fives finally getting his one episode, and Quips getting married. Because we totally care about that character. We get to see more of Skips' backstory with Skips in Time and the sweet but tragic Skips' Story special. Season 5 also offers a great collection of earwormy songs. We get the new Thanksgiving song in the Thanksgiving special, Keeping It Cool in the Return of Mordecai and the Rigbys, and the catchy Clock song in Saving Time. And we finally get an episode solely about Pops and catching the wave. However, we still get weak episodes in Power Tower, Wall Buddy, Tent Trouble, and Rigby in the Sky with a Burrito. Outside of that, most episodes are serviceable. Not bad, but not great either. Most of the season is watchable, but not a lot of it stands as truly great. Season 5 felt like it was mostly just a transitional period between Mordecai's relationship with Margaret and Mordecai's relationship with CJ. And it felt like the writers didn't really have anything else to do, so they just decided to give us the Skips backstory we always wanted, which is admittedly good, and an admittedly pretty cool Thanksgiving episode. This is almost like a breather season, where we get to kind of just take a break and relax before we really jump into the drama of Season 6 and the storylines of 7 and 8. Season 6 is where I just got fed up with Mordecai's love life. Essentially, let me get ready for this. CJ and Mordecai are finally an official couple, having a happy and healthy relationship until Margaret comes back from college to work at her father's news station. Oh no, she becomes Eileen's new roommate, leading to an encounter with Mordecai and CJ at Merry Christmas Mordecai, starting an annoying trend of Mordecai encountering Margaret, becoming awkward around her, leading to a misunderstanding with CJ. Mordecai and CJ break up in Merry Christmas Mordecai, but then immediately get back together in Sad Sacks. Then, through the many misunderstandings they have, they break up again at the end of the season. What the heck? It gets really frustrating to watch. While on one hand, I see Mordecai as Quintel's self-insert into the series, so this could have been something that actually happened to him and something that is relatable to Quintel as a writer. But on the other hand, it just becomes very annoying and repetitive. Mordecai comes off as looking stupid for getting himself into these situations so often. CJ comes off as very distrusting and not understanding of certain situations Mordecai ends up getting in. And Margaret really needed to not get involved as much as she did. In the end, they separate. We never see CJ again, except for a brief cameo towards the end of Season 7, and Margaret only really gets one more episode to kind of just resolve the tension that it was left in the aftermath of this relationship. But outside of that, we also get to see other relationships develop. Muscleman and Starla get engaged and work to prepare a wedding throughout the season, with their wedding serving as the backdrop to Mordecai and CJ's breakup. Yay. Rigby confirms that he has been in a relationship with Eileen and dumped at the altar, which is also the same episode Muscle Man and Starla get married in. Outside of that, Benson joins an exclusive park managers club, and we get to see the beginnings of Muscle Man and Fives' friendship. However, most of the episodes that deal with literally any of these relationships aren't really that great. But don't worry, they do offer some really good event episodes. First, we get a great send-off to Thomas, the intern in The Real Thomas, and we get to see a sequel to the Format Wars, building up some of the regular show mythology that we'll learn more about in Season 7 and Season 8. We also get the epic final chapter in the Baby Duck saga in Brilliant Century Duck Crisis Special. We get a great homage to video game culture in Gamers Never Say Die. The final fantastic episode is the White Elephant gift exchange, in which we see Muscleman finally get what he has coming to him without the episode coming off as too mean-spirited. Despite the frustrating pacing of the main story of this season, Season 6 still manages to deliver some bangers of event episodes, keeping the show from getting stale. So Season 7 is really where the show starts to kind of get more focused in its storytelling. It starts with the pretty funny Dome Experiment special, where Benson basically becomes Rambo just to track down some emails. While this special was presented as a silly one-off special, this would set up the events in the rest of the season. About halfway through the season in Chili Cook-Off, there's a minor reveal that Gene was a part of the Dome Experiment, meaning there's more to it than meets the eye. Suddenly, the Dome comes back in the button with a new scientist in charge, becoming the new status quo for the rest of the season, when the Dome is revealed to be a part of a spacecraft that then blasts the gang into outer space. Other storylines would include Rigby trying to be a better boyfriend by graduating high school and going out of his way to do things for Eileen, Mordecai and Margaret becoming just friends, Benson meets his future wife Pam, and he gets a pig, and we get a send-off to Thomas before he goes underground. My favorite episodes in this season include the Dome Experiment special, the Lunch Club where Benson and Rigby finally get to bond in a fun parody of The Breakfast Club, Gary's synthesizer, where Gary's past is revealed in a cool 80s music world, Rigby Goes to Prom, where he and his dad finally get over their differences, Pop's Favorite Planet, where Pop's power is revealed along with some great Pop's development, and Rigby's Graduation Day special, the special that really puts into context where Mordecai and Rigby stand as friends, with Rigby accomplishing so much, and Mordecai being jealous because for once he's the screw-up. It cleverly addresses the dynamic switch between Mordecai and Rigby while dealing with it with a sense of realism for who the characters are. And as you can see, this season is almost the season of the Rigby with all the plot points Rigby is involved in. There also weren't really that many episodes I disliked. The only one that really comes close was Return of Party Horse. He's really annoying. He just is. He borders on that way too much. And it's kind of annoying to just watch this guy come back after really not a great episode from the season prior. I don't know the writer's obsession with this character, but he's annoying. But yeah, I mean, this season overall I really liked. I loved what the main storyline represents going forward in the show, and I think this is some of the best character relationship work regular show has done thus far, and it really prepares us for the emotions that are about to come in during Season 8. However, before we get to Season 8, I do want to address the regular show movie. So narratively, this takes place between Season 6 and Season 7. The only real reason I'm kind of addressing it now is just, it doesn't really fit with the flow, but I do want to address it before we really get to the emotional climax of the cartoon as a whole. So I'm just going to put it right here, because why the heck not? The movie mostly deals with Rigby being forced to face the implications of his selfishness. We get the explanation for why Rigby and Mordecai even end up working for the park in the first place. That being, Rigby gets rejected from college and he lies to Mordecai, telling him that he was rejected. Honestly, this is probably why Mordecai has such an inferiority complex throughout the show. Mr. Ross is serviceable as the main antagonist with a regular show-style personality and goofy motivation, but he serves as an extreme outcome of Rigby's recklessness and selfishness. Well, yes, Ross's actions are of his own volition, it was Rigby's lack of regard for Ross that completely upended the man's life. I also think it subtly set up Rigby's return to high school in season 7. However, the Park Bros kind of take a back seat here, but they do their parts well enough, I guess. Overall, the movie is pretty good. It's not necessary viewing for regular show, but it helps to inform some of the similar story beats Rigby goes on in season 7, which I definitely appreciated. It also introduces a lot of Rigby's high school life that would come back in season 7. But yeah, the movie was really good, and I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're going to watch through this series. Just put it between your viewings of season 6 and season 7 of regular show. But enough of that. Let's get on to the emotional climax of regular show season 8, regular show in space.
It seems like we're getting reports that the Park Dome is finally back! It's back, everybody! It's back!
Like I said, regular show season 8 is regular show in space. And yeah, I dropped regular show initially towards the beginning of season 7, as I said at the beginning of this video. So when I heard about season 8 kind of taking the Park Bros into space, I kind of rolled my eyes. It really seemed like a dumb gimmick to get more people to watch the show before finally ending. I mean, I know Archer, I think right now, is doing some sort of space type deal. I know some other shows, their like final season, they'll just take the characters to space because why not? So I was really hesitant about watching this season because I thought it was just going to be very gimmicky and cringy. And at first, it kind of seemed like that was the way it was going. Most of the episodes within the first 14 of this season play as if this was the same show, but they're just in space, leading to some episodes that I didn't quite enjoy. With the exception of Welcome to Space and Dream Warrior, the first 11 episodes of Season 8 are very uneven. Welcome to Space deals with Benson dealing with his life being upended, and Dream Warrior gives us the foundation for the Anti-Pops plot that would develop later. Lucky for us, episodes 12 onward are basically all bangers. Stuck in an Elevator combines two relatable scenarios, being stuck in an elevator and trying to get somewhere on time, leading to a pretty fun episode. Space Race is wildly fun and creative. Operation Hear No Evil is painfully relatable. The season's Terror Tales in the Park feels refreshing in a new environment and provides some levity for the more intense season, and Christmas in Space provides a new take on the Terror Tales formula. Also, Eileen becomes a main cast member for this season, allowing her more screen time and more interactions with other park staff. The rest of the episodes deal with the main plots, where we meet the first dome experiment, Pop struggles with how to defeat his brother while conflicting with his own ideology, the mythology surrounding Pops and Anti-Pops, the story from the last Laserdisc player plot suddenly incorporates itself quite nicely into Pops' backstory, and a fantastic finale. Everything dealing with this storyline really hits hard, and I love how Pops is the center focus of it all. Pops always served as the heart of regular shows, so we as the audience naturally want to join the guys to help Pops win this battle. However, Pops has always been someone who chooses love over conflict, so he has to struggle with the idea that there might be someone out there who is truly evil at heart and can't be redeemed. I loved how Mordecai and Rigby relived the beginning of the universe as the first episode, which is really clever. But what was absolutely the best part was the final few minutes of the show, where Pops decides to kill Anti-Pops with love and kindness. He grabs Anti-Pops and decides to fly the both of them into the sun, while Mordecai and Rigby look on. As they hurtle to their deaths, Anti-Pops realizes how he wasted his time dwelling on negativity, something I feel we can all relate to, saying that he wishes he could take it all back. Pops responds with, "You can try, you and I together," and they hug for the last time as they're killed by the star. Reality resets as Heroes by David Bowie plays, and the dome comes back to Earth. The crew reunites with their loved ones, and they erect a monument for Pops. The years go by, and we see Rigby and Eileen have kids together, as do Muscleman and Starla. Fives and Celia become DJs. Benson and Pam continue to run the park as Skips continues his work there, and Mordecai becomes an artist and meets the love of his life. After 25 years, Mr. Maylard dies, and the former staff gathers in remembrance of him. Mordecai wishes that Pops was alive to see how their lives went, and Rigby remembers Pops' sacrifice before the two go off to look for their old video games. The camera zooms out to reveal a television and a tape labeled Regular Show HX, implying that we've been watching with an unknown audience member, before revealing that Pops was watching with us. And he ends the series remarking, "Good show. Jolly good show." This really hit hard for me. I watched one of the characters I grew up watching die in a heroic self-sacrifice. It was the perfect way to end Regular Show, and Season 8 just really does a great photo finish. It starts out a bit rocky, but finally focuses on an amazing and emotional story that really stuck with me, ending Regular Show on the highest possible note it could have ended on. Regular Show represents how to do an effective character-based episodic cartoon right. The relationships between the characters take the time to develop until we get a big storyline, so we feel more invested in the group and the obstacles they have to overcome. Yes, there are some inconsistencies with some of the character portrayals, but as a whole, the characters here are really well developed. I think the show stumbles early on when they chose to put an emphasis on Muscle Man, and Fives tends to be cast aside as a main character. However, Rigby, Mordecai, Benson, Skips, and Pops are handled so well that I can forgive the show when they shove a Muscle Man episode down my throat. Overall, there is a reason Regular Show has become one of the most beloved cartoons of the 2010s. It has memorable characters, fun stories, and enough of an edge for adults to really be entertained. I laughed, I cried, and I look back on this show and I still look at it with a lot of love. This is most definitely a jolly good show indeed. Hey, thanks for watching this video. This is something new that I wanted to try out. I am a very big TV watcher, and I like watching big franchises, so I think I'm going to make some more retrospectives on some older franchises, older cartoons, older TV shows that were really big, and see if they still hold up today, or see if my take lines up with the popular opinion. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing more retrospectives from me, or if you want to just see what other ideas I come up with, click right here to subscribe. And if you want to see some of my older videos where I don't appear on a green screen, or I might be a cartoon character, click right here to see whatever YouTube recommends you. Thank you for watching tonight's entertainment. I hope I made it worth it. You guys have a great night, and I will see you next time.